Okie doke. Hello, FireLordTd. I'm assuming that's tower defense since we're playing Heimerdinger. Anyways, you didn't leave any questions. If you leave some questions, then the VOD review can be a little bit more guided. If you have any specific questions about things that might have happened in game, so like good example would be like, should I have gone for this dragon fight? Should I have been split pushing? How should I have played out this fight at like 10 minutes or something like that? So anyways, we're playing Heimerdinger into LeBlanc. Just off the start, with your runes, you took Null Orb, which like seems like an okay idea into LeBlanc, having that extra magic damage shield whenever you get low. But it's actually not going to be as useful as Monoflow Band, which is what you're giving up to run Null Orb in this case. And with Monoflow Band, it will give you obviously more mana. And basically, this entire matchup, you want to be pushing the LeBlanc in and then poking her under turret. And if you run out of mana, then you have to recall, and then that kind of gives LeBlanc an out of the laning phase. Whereas if you're able to stay in the lane with more mana more often, then you're able to gain more advantage in the laning phase. And there's never really going to be a point where the LeBlanc can just attack you through your turrets, so long that you have her pushed in. So we don't actually need this extra defense from Null Orb, because having more mana, being able to poke her more under turret is going to be more useful for us. So the lane plays out pretty well. Basically always having push on the lane. The main thing that I think that you should look to focus on is using your Q for the minion wave, and then using your W to poke the enemy. You're too often spinning the W on the wave and not on the LeBlanc. Okey-doke. So we're laning, we're pushing, at least we're trying to push. Getting E level 2 is okay. An auto tech like that is just bad. So let's watch this again. Okey-doke. So we try to use the E as she's coming towards us. It doesn't work out. We put the turret down, and then you kind of just walk past your melee minions as if they don't exist. And until the melee minions are dead, you really shouldn't look to trade against LeBlanc, because you're committing yourself into her. You don't have your E up. Your Q is just for the minion wave, and LeBlanc has her W and Q up. So you're going to be trading into an auto attack, 2 abilities, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minions. So this is just not a good spot to put yourself in. So you move forward, 1 auto attack, and then that's it. And then you're going to take aggro from the cannon minion, the melee minion, and then luckily just this 1 caster minion. But if LeBlanc just presses QW there, then we're losing the trade by a lot. And then that can put us on the back foot, making us easily gankable after Kayn finishes his full clear. Kayn will finish the full clear around 320 most of the time. And then that can really put you in a bad spot. So don't look for auto attacks on the enemy until the melee minions are dead, basically. Joke, we're advancing the turret placement, which is fine. If you put the turrets a little bit away from the minion wave, that can help you against LeBlanc, because her wave clear is her W. And she wants to W herself on top of the minions, in which case the AoE damage will damage most of the minions around it. And if you put your turrets on top of that, then that's going to be taking the damage from that as well. So if you put your turret to the side of the minion wave, then you can maintain push on the wave and not really lose the turret and give her extra value out of her W. Okey-doke. So we have the wave pushed in, and then the Kayn ends up ganking the top lane, and we continue to push, and then our jungler has to recall top, and you don't respect that like hard enough. So we have to know that Kayn wants to be doing the scuttle here, and then we'll look to gank mid afterward. So to avoid, or not so much to avoid it, because we're already in a spot where we have to push out the wave since we have the turrets going. But what you want to do is, 1, know that that's happening in the first place. It's a great place to start. And then 2, play to the right side of the lane, because if Kayn wants to gank, then he has to come around. And the further we are to the right, the more distance we have away from him, since he's going to be coming from the river. Since Kayn has the ability to move through the walls, that's also harder for us to deal with. So if we're on the right side of the lane, then as he's coming here, then we're going to get the notification from his E and then be able to kite away. Or if our jungler's here, maybe we can even kite into the river. If our bot lane has push, maybe we drag them into it as well. But just try to play on the right side of the lane when you know the jungler's there. And if anything, just like spend your abilities on the wave as well, if it's good enough. If you just have to get the wave in, and you can kind of just run away for a little bit, and then stick around in lane. So Kayn comes in for the gank, totally just whiffs everything for the most part. If we have our E up, then this is definitely a kill, and then you kind of freak out and use the flash. If you just stay there auto-attacking him, it's totally fine because LeBlanc wasn't coming. I'm sure like we were just like tunneled on the Kayn, but if you have more awareness, pay more attention to the minimap or just kind of what's happening, then we would know that the LeBlanc wasn't there. So the flash kind of stinks, but better safe than sorry. So that gives LeBlanc somewhat of an out in the lane, and then we TP back. So we TP back with Refillable and Amp Tome, and then we continue to just kind of push the LeBlanc in until the end of time here. On that recall, if you get a Sapphire Crystal, that's also totally fine. We don't need a lot of AP in the early game. It's more just about the mana, because if we have more mana, then we're going to be getting more Ws off across time, and then that's going to give us more power in the lane because LeBlanc will have to try to CS with less HP. And then you use your ults for the turret, which, since LeBlanc's a ranged champion, she's never going to be walking into the ult turret. You want to ult turret whenever they're a melee champion for the most part. Here, you want to be saving your ult until you land an E. So like, place your turrets pretty offensively, wait for LeBlanc to E, or to W on top of the wave, and then try to land your E into an ult W, and that's like your best case. The ult turret here is just getting turret damage, which isn't that valuable really. See, this is good. Kayn enters from the right side, we're playing on the left hand side of the lane. You love to see it. He keeps going for it, he obviously doesn't have it, and you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Alrighty, and then you don't have to recall here. Even though you're out of mana, LeBlanc's pretty much screwed in lane as well. So she has 300 HP. If you stick around and just put your turrets down, because your turrets don't cost a lot of mana, then you're able to clear this wave and then maintain, you basically get to even out the wave. And if you lock LeBlanc into this lane, then you're going to be better off because she has less gold than us and then also has less resources. So staying in lane here is totally fine, and recalling just gives the LeBlanc an out. That's the biggest problem here. So she gets to push that wave out, and then we're missing CS and gold, and then LeBlanc also gets to recall when she was in a pretty bad lane state. So she's going to come back with no magic mantle, dark seal, and boots, making it a lot harder for us to kill her, which isn't that big of a deal for us, because we're really just trying to get her low and then make her life like super miserable basically under turret. Stop using the ulted turret on the turret. Getting the gold is okay, but you're going to get the gold from the turret anyways, like across time. It's fine to not get these, like all the turret plating up until 14 minutes when it expires. You know, play it a lot slower. Save your ult for your empowered W or E to get more damage onto the LeBlanc. So we're pushing her in, and then as you can see, we're running out of mana because we're spinning the W. Let's go back actually. You keep spinning the W on the minion wave instead of on the LeBlanc here. So let's go back even further. Every time I look, your W's on cooldown. Okay. So a W onto basically one minion there. Okey-doke, and the next W onto the minion wave, which only onto like 2 minions. That's so much mana. It's only 1 point in it right now just to deal more damage to the minion wave, which just isn't good. You want to be placing the turrets to kill the minion wave and then use your W to poke the LeBlanc out. Just pushing the minion wave basically gives the lane to the LeBlanc. And then you have to recall because we've spent all of our mana. So now we come back with Lost Chapter. Obviously things get easier. This Corrupting Potion just sucks. This late into the game, there's no reason to upgrade the Refillable into Corrupting Potion if you're not going to start with it. Once you have Lost Chapter, like your mana issues are done with. So, and then the Corrupting Potion also delays your build path into your first completed mythic. So really just don't do that. Not much else to say about it. Okay, so then once you get the turret plate and you've pushed the LeBlanc in, you spent your W for poke, that's your time where you would look to ward. So If you have a control ward, this would be the time to put it in the pixel bush, either on right or left hand side. Since the dragon is up, I would probably put it on the right hand side. Against Kayn, it's also useful to ward the enemy raptors, so you can get an idea of like where he is. So now, this is good, this is good. We got the turret set up, LeBlanc approaches, we use the E, and then we use the W onto her. And then as you land the W, you can also just use your ult into W. Or once you land the E, you can use your ult into W. Just to get as much damage off as you can. It's not about killing her, it's just about putting her in a worse lane state. Because if she has to recall, then we're really going to get some turret damage off. And then she's going to be missing out on golden XP, and we're going to become way stronger than her. But once again, just rinse and repeat, drop the ulted turret onto the turret over and over and over again. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you can punish her a lot harder with the W poke. And then as you can see, like, we keep using the W onto the wave. The wave's going to shove it anyways with your turrets, so you don't have to play it like that. So yeah, the early game is just a whole like sieging mini game, I guess. Just constantly pushing, and then as you can see, like once you start using the W's on the LeBlanc, she does get low enough, and then the lane like really sucks for her. We definitely miss out on a kill here. We're pushing in. We put the turret down. You can put 2 turrets down here if you wanted to, and then you go for the E. As soon as you throw the E, just throw the W, because if this lands, by the time it would land, you still have the like animation time to cast the W. So throw your E, you put the Q down, which is good, and then shoot the W, and then you can start kiting. But you E, and then it gets the turret damage, but then you just don't shoot the W. And LeBlanc already cast her Q into you because she's crazy and wants to die, but you just don't cast the W. So we miss out on a kill there, a pretty easy one. And then Kayn comes in, and we have to flash. If Kayn uses ult, we're just dead there. We TP back to lane, we have Ludens now, and we just continue to siege. Now here's where you get lost as well. So after you push out this wave, you immediately start like moving to other lanes. You don't have to do this, and you keep repeating this, and it's just like a classic noob maneuver. Since there's no minion wave, there's nothing for you to hit, you just leave. Don't do that. Try to ask yourself like what's next. And in this case, roaming bot is not it. Our ADC isn't even there. The enemy is like basically in front of their turret, and there's nothing for you there. So all there is for you to do now is to move into the enemy jungle and ward, and then move back to your lane, because eventually the next minion wave will come in. You can tell because if you look at the mini-map, where your minion wave is, it's going to be mirrored on the enemy side as well. So since our minion wave is here, their minion wave is going to be about right here. So if we just stay mid lane, then the next minion wave will come into us in about 15 seconds-ish. But if you don't, then you're just missing out on that wave. And like I said, there has to be a reason for you to move to the other lanes. So don't get lost like this. So this is how it ends up playing out. Walking all the way bot lane, trying to get a kill onto the Nami, but there's no reason for them to be moving here or to, actually be in a spot where you can attack them, because Heimerdinger's a naturally defensive champion, and trying to attack the enemy like this isn't going to work out very often. So as all this is happening, mid lane's being pushed out, we're missing one wave, one cannon wave, which is pretty big, and then the next wave dies as well, and then we give the enemy ADC a kill, even though we get a killer ourselves. But yeah, it's just not the play you should be looking for. Just stay in your lane and wait for the waves to come back to you, and the same thing like kind of repeats. So we spawns a top lane fight. This is okay. Once you take the one turret here, I would look to just go back to mid lane. Go back to mid lane, farm like 1 to 2 waves, maybe 1 in like 2.5 waves, and then look for the enemy jungle, in which case you could get the enemy raptors if you were fast enough. And then if you can't get the enemy jungle, you can look to go to your jungle, get the respawning blue, get your wolves, and then come back to the midway, for example. Just try to be like getting as much farm as you can, because if you're ever like staying in a lane with all your allies like this, you're all sharing gold and XP from the minion wave, and if you're not killing champions, then you're kind of just losing out because you could be getting more golden XP for yourself elsewhere. Let's see how this fight plays out. So Kane goes in. We use the ult turret and then use the E basically on nothing. Zhonya's nothing. Until enemy champions are like on top of you, you don't have to freak out for the Zhonyas. So they take out the Kane. We use the E. We don't have the W. And this is Heimerdinger whenever our abilities are on cooldown, so. And then once that play is done, you should be like ready to just back off and recall. So then here, you should want to be mid lane, because it's the lane where you can get the most gold and everything's going to work out better. Being in a side lane opens you up to be attacked a lot easier, and then makes it so that if you're moving around the map, you have to go a lot further, whereas if you're mid lane, then you don't have to go as far to show up to the fights. And if the enemy wants to attack you mid lane, it's also easier to run away because it's less distance from, say, here to this turret than it is from like here to no turret altogether and then all the way back here. So, and Heimerdinger doesn't have mobility like other champions, so you basically have to stand your ground. Then most likely, if 2 or 3 champions are coming to attack you, then you're going to go down, even if you're Heimerdinger mid to late game, because they're probably going to have enough HP and just base stats behind them to survive, compared to the early game where Heimerdinger can just endure them. Okay. Okay, what is happening? This fight's happening down here. Kane goes in, Nami ults. We do have flash, so, but it is kind of weird, and then we just get totally screwed. Cho'Gath Q into Nami, and then bang. So let's go ahead and skip to these last 2 fights, and then that will be that. You try to spin the W like very, very quickly. Basically, every time you're in range to cast your E, you can probably cast the W, unless you're saving it for like to guarantee that it lands. Because the faster you cast it, the faster it's off cooldown as well. Did I break the replay? That's fine. That's fine, I guess. So, I mean, the main things that I think you should look to improve on here is... The first thing is stay in lane whenever, like the first thing actually is spend your W to poke and Q to push the wave. This matchup is a really, really, really good example. Like I was saying, you want to put your turrets like in front of the wave so that it's hitting it as soon as it comes in, and you don't have to spend your W to like push it even faster. The wave's going to go in eventually. You just have to play it a bit slower, especially against a champion like LeBlanc that doesn't have wave clear. And then once the wave's on the turret, then whenever LeBlanc's looking to CS the wave, that's when you want to try to nail her with your W over and over and over again. And you want to be saving your E until she spends her W or uses her W on top of you, because then it's guaranteed to hit. Your E's not your poke ability. The W comes up much faster and then also is a bit larger to do. So that's the easiest thing to apply, especially where this whole game was just push LeBlanc in and take your turret. You can also like I was saying, like save your ult for the ult W, because once you have the LeBlanc half health, if you ever land an E, then your ult W probably kills or gets her low enough where she has to leave the lane, and then you get a win off that. So if you have her where she's low, after like landing an E into ult W, she's like say 20% HP, you can push out the next wave, recall, and then you're coming back to lane with more golden XP, and then the lane's just going to be better for you. Continue to do the rinse and repeat, like push it out until the end of the time. The second thing is like watch the minion waves, and then be thinking what is the next step, because so often you're just like lost on different things where once there's no minion wave there, then you just walk bot lane and things like that. Let the game come to you. That's going to be the easiest, because with Heimerdinger, you want the enemy to be coming into you. You don't want to be moving into them. And the same with the minion waves. So if you're letting the enemy come into you, they're going to be dying. Like, I'm sure you know by maining Heimerdinger, that's what you want them to do, dive onto you. And then with the minion waves, wait for them to come into you, farm them like in the mid game, and don't like get lost exploring the map for the most part. So yeah, work on these things, and easily, you should see a difference pretty soon. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on the Pro Guides website. And yeah, good luck in your climb, man. Love Heimerdinger. Love when the enemy tries to 1v2 and dies instantly. I love it.